Thanks for joining. My name is Matt Malley, and I'm with Rev Entertainment. We are looking forward to the Amity Bank College Baseball Series here at Globe Life Field in the next couple of weeks. We have on February 21st through 23rd, we have TCU, Arkansas, K-State, and Michigan. And then weekend three of our tournaments, February 28th through March 2nd, we have Auburn, Baylor, Ohio State, and Oregon State. We have seven head coaches here from all the teams represented, and we have Tyler Robinson, assistant head coach for Ohio State, representing his school. At this time, we'll open it up to questions for media. If you guys have a question, please click the React button at the bottom of your screen to raise your hand, and we will call on you to ask questions. So to get us started, we'll go to Stephen Hawkins with the Associated Press. Stephen?
Hey, I'd like to ask two coaches. I'll just start with Coach Van Horn. You've had your team play at this facility a couple of times before. What does it do for your players to know they have an opportunity to play in a major league stadium?
I think the big thing for us is that we know we're going to play, weather-wise, and for us as well. It's about 5 hours south of us, and a little bonding time for us. Take a bus, hang out, and it's just been a good experience for us. Even when you lose games, you feel like you're getting better. You get a workout in on Thursday. You're going to play three games, three really good teams. And like I said last year, it's always sunny and 72 in there. And if you're scheduling at home or even at outdoor stadium, just about anywhere this time of the year, it still can be a little iffy. I mean, we went to a tournament in Central Texas a few years back, and we played Stanford, and the weather actual temperature was 33. The feel-like temperature was like 20, and the wind was howling, and it was miserable. And to make it even worse, we got beat. So, yeah, it's a great experience, and to be able to recruit to it a little bit, tell your kids you're going to play in a big league stadium is always nice.
And then I'll go ahead and ask the same. Pretty much Coach Thompson at Auburn, just the idea that you guys play in some tremendous facilities in the SEC every week, but what does it mean? And what do you tell your kids about playing in these kind of facilities?
Yeah, here to Dave's answers. I agree wholeheartedly. It is from a recruiting standpoint, you can offer that. We also offer it to our fans. I think it's neat because we'll play our other non-conference weekends at home, and this is one where that Dallas-Fort Worth area is just a great area for who are our alumni in that area. But guaranteed, we've all probably done these. We're all searching for February, the best weather we possibly can. I think those are two huge things. And then I think our first trip was there in 2022, and there wound up being a couple other teams that reached the Final Eight in Omaha. And so you sharpen that axe. This is probably one of the best venues to do that before you start, for us, our 10 weeks of SEC play. And so I just echo what Dave said and maybe another point or two.
Like Coach Van Horn, I'll tell you this, like you said about the cold weather, I was a baseball SID back in the 80s. I remember chipping ice off a tarp to play a game, so those are miserable. Thanks, guys.
If you have a question, please raise your hand using the React button at the bottom of your screen. We also have Jared Schramm, Rev Entertainment Senior Vice President, on the call today if you have any event-related questions. We'll go to Noah Darling next.
This is for Coach Sarloos. Coach, you opened up this press conference 2 years ago and said, I'd like every other coach to reveal their starting weekend rotation. So figured I'd turn it on you and ask you to do the same.
I plead the fifth. No, but I think going back to the previous question, for us being, 20 minutes up the road, this tournament and the Rangers, and I see Jared's on the call. I mean, we love it, especially our fans. We're going to be indoors. It could, there's a cold snap every once in a while that runs through Texas, and for us to have 20 minutes down the road, playing a big league ballpark and play great competition year in and year out inside of that park. So I'm fired up to be part of it in week 2.
Next question, Jerry Hill.
This is for Mitch Thompson. Coach, how are you?
Good, Jerry. You doing all right?
Good, buddy. I guess I could have drove across the street, but tell me how you approach this tournament, and particularly after you've been through it a year. How do you approach this kind of tournament?
Well, it's just the thing about playing in this thing is it's such a great environment. You're in the big league ballpark, but you're playing great competition. I mean, I'm looking at it from our standpoint that it's as close to a simulation of a regional tournament as you can possibly have at the end of the year. And the competition that you're playing, you're guaranteed to play. Um, you know, we want to go into it. We want to win every game we can win, but we're playing people that are very capable. And in our tournament, we've got a member from all four Power Four conferences there. So it's going to be great. It's not like Baylor's played Auburn or Baylor's played Ohio State or Baylor's played Oregon State on a year in, year out basis. So the beauty of it, you're getting to play really good people in a really good environment, and then you're really going to learn something about your ball club. You're going to learn where you're at and what you got to continue to get better at, and that's the way we're looking at it. So, and then to probably top it off, I guess for us in the Big 12 is, that's where our conference tournament will be at the end of the year, and so I think the more times you can play in a venue like this, especially when there's going to be things on the line for it, at the end of the year, it's just a great opportunity for us. And Dallas is an hour and a half away, so it's a big draw every year. Every time they ask us to play in it, we're gonna be loading up and going for sure.
For your club, does it help that you at least get a weekend or two, in before then, that you're not, because I remember how it was last year. I think you opened there.
Well, we did. We opened it there last year, and yeah, it was a dogfight right from the get-go. I like the fact that we're in week 3 this year. I think that's a really good time to do it. We'll play a couple weeks here early, first 2 weekends. So, week 3 will be a great step for us. The competition continues to ratchet up and prepare us for eventual conference play.
Thanks, Mitch.
Yep.
Next, we'll go to Harrison Cordell.
Thanks. Hey, question for Coach Butch Thomas and Dave Van Horn. Just, I know you guys are playing week 2 and week 3 of this, but like you said, Butch, just the teams that are in this are, regional, super regional, Omaha caliber teams. How does that kind of think through, like, with the players, and how do you talk with the players through that? Motivating them and just kind of setting the standard that this is the level of teams you're going to be playing all year in the SEC and teams that you're going to see in the postseason.
Yeah, it's a great dry run, right? So that'll be the first time and only time that we'll spend the night in a hotel. We did it in the fall just to try to create unity. I think Dave touched on that. But we'll take this trip, and even though you're playing different people, it's really, I think one of these venues you're going in there and you're trying to create your identity because you're going to play 3 teams and there's quick turnarounds, and you're going to see great pitchers. It's absolutely going to feel like one of our conference weekends, and it's got everything involved with it as far as you're matched athletically. You'll be stretched. You might see a number 1, 2 out of the 3 games, and it's helped us in the past. And really, I guess to add one more piece is when I have to give an account to my administration or people, our fans, outside of the 10 SEC weekends, which we have no control over, and we do have some control over our non-conference. If I commit to take one trip with our team before we start conference play, where's the one place in America that we could go to get the most bang for our buck, and it would be the best sale. And that's why we choose this, because you look at the other 6 coaches and the schools they represent, the quality. I don't remember me saying I want to go to this event. I more remember us being able to be extended invitation, and I'm thankful when we went in 22 that we'll be able to come back this year and potentially next year to this event, and for you guys to think enough of our program. But this is iron sharpening iron, so to speak, and this will prepare us possibly more than anything else we do heading into conference play.
Yeah, I agree with what Butch had to say. You go into into this environment with your team, we get to take pretty much just one trip before we before we start conference play, and this is it. And I've committed to come as much as they want us, and it's real easy for our fans to head down south. It's also easy for the thousands and thousands of alumni in the Metroplex area, and then just Texas alone to come on up. And I don't think we played a game in there with less than at least 18,000 people, and that was right after COVID. And it's been amazing, and it's just good for our players to play in front of that type of atmosphere. And like I said, it's a bonding thing for us as well. And we have 4 non-conference weekends, and the one we spend on the road has been at this tournament for I think 4 years in a row now, and we've enjoyed it.
Next question, Jamie Plunkett.
Thank you. This question is for the Big 12 coaches on the call, Coach Thompson, Coach Hughes, and Coach Sarlos. Last year, we saw 4 SEC and 4 ACC teams in the College World Series, and there's always this kind of continuous debate across college athletics about which conference is the strongest in any particular sport. I would love to hear y'all's perspective on the current state of the Big 12 and the things that the Big 12 is doing to keep up in baseball and things that it could be doing more of.
Well, I think first and foremost, the investment in programs. I think you see it. I think Pete had some stuff done to his ballpark in the last couple of years. I know Mitch has some plans in terms of doing stuff to Baylor Ballpark. So, ultimately, you got to get what you put in, and with the investment in college athletics and college baseball around the country, it's definitely something that you have to look at in terms of, kids obviously go to places that feel like they're going to get an opportunity to play at the highest level, and they want to be at places that invest in baseball and have high expectations. And I think when you have high expectations, you also have good investment in the program. So for us, it's about, our conference, it's about, now that we have more teams in our conference, it's about getting more teams into postseason play. Because I think once you get into postseason play, it obviously comes down to who's playing the best, at that particular weekend. So we just got to get more teams in, and to do that, we got to play better baseball.
Hey,
Yep.
I'll add to that. I agree wholeheartedly. I think our conference is really a good conference. I think top to bottom, it's ultra competitive. It continues to be that way, just like any other power conference in the country. We just added Arizona State, and Utah, so our conference isn't going backwards. It's just continuing to grow forwards. And I think that, like Kirk said, there are things that are happening in our league at almost every program where we're taking steps forward and continuing to grow it. And it's it's just part of it. I think last year we had some great things happen in the league, and I think that there's going to be great things happen this year. So, all of these opportunities to play other people from around the country are just continuing to build the brand. And for our sports, for our baseball, and really, it's baseball and softball at every school in the country that carry that school's logo and that school's brand throughout the entire spring and into the summer. And so for all the schools in our league, I know that baseball is important, and we're continuing to try and all fight and make it more and more important every day. So none of us are ever happy, for sure. We're always wanting more.
I think those guys said it all. I think our league's getting better with the expansion. It opens up more recruiting markets, and when that's the case, then you can attract more talent to your school. And our facilities keep building, like Kirk said. And it's not like we're fighting for credibility, but really the only way to do that is to get more teams in the postseason and get more teams to Omaha. So and tournaments like this will help us do that. It certainly is a resume builder for us. That's the way we're approaching it. And um, they don't ask you when you have those quality wins. Weekend 1, 2, or the last weekend. It's just a quality win's a quality win. It just happens to have some opportunity for us to be in a great tournament. Second weekend out of the year, kick off the college season, and against some tradition-rich programs. And looking forward to it and representing the Big 12.
Andrew Hutchinson next.
Yeah, I actually have a question for Jared with Rev, if that's all right. I'm curious if you could give some insight on like the timing of when these teams were announced, because I'm specifically curious if it's a coincidence that Arkansas is playing TCU and Kansas State, two of the teams that knocked them out of their home regional last couple of years. And do you look for making matchups like that are intriguing storylines like that?
I mean, we certainly want intriguing matchups, but no, candidly, a lot of these are booked years in advance, so it's just a coincidence when it comes to the scheduling. But no, we want the best programs in the country, and we appreciate these guys saying yes to coming to Arlington.
And then also with Dave, I was wondering, last year there was a lot made of Arkansas playing Oregon State. But this year y'all are playing Kansas State and TCU. You've got guys that were on the teams the last couple of years. Just do you sense on your team that there's any level of revenge, or is there any extra excitement getting another crack at those guys?
Well, I hope our guys are just focused in on trying to beat Washington State on the 14th in that weekend. But no, I'm excited to play those guys. The Big 12 has been really good the last few years and forever. I had the opportunity to coach in that league for 5 years, and to play TCU and Kansas State and Michigan. I'm sure they're just excited, number one, to get to play in a big league park. And, as far as who we're playing, obviously we haven't discussed any of that. So I don't have a feel on that. I think that more than anything that we know that we're going to get to play, and that's probably the most exciting part of it.
Andrew Ellis.
Yeah, Dave, you've got a pretty tough decision to make with your starting rotation. But before you go to Arlington, you get to play 4 games against Washington State. Is that something that kind of all offseason you and your staff have looked at and thought, okay, we can use this weekend to maybe figure some things out, try a different guy out before we really have to make that decision going into Arlington, cut to 3?
Yeah, I mean, we know who we're probably going to throw game 1 and 2 and 3. 4 might be up in the air. But yeah, we wanted to try to get 4 games in before we headed to Arlington. This gives us an opportunity to maybe have another day to prepare or rest a little bit. Not having to play on that Tuesday or Wednesday before we head down. But yeah, I mean, like most of these teams that are in these tournaments, lose 80% of your starting lineup. And, in our case, we lost our entire rotation. And I think, our entire outfield and corner infielders and catchers. So we've replaced a lot of guys, and we're just trying to play games and try to get it all figured out before we open conference play down at Ole Miss.
Stephen Hawkins, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Mitch with Rev a couple questions. Mitch, when this thing started, it was one weekend. It was 6 teams. Was it envisioned the whole time to kind of grow it to this thing where it's kind of multiple weekends, and you've also got midweek games throughout?
Is that for Jared, Stephen?
I'm sorry, Jared. Yes, at Rev. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, all good. Yeah, listen, when we started this, I think the first year we actually booked this tournament was, gosh, it was maybe 2017, 2018 is when we put together the field for 2021. And honestly, as we made phone calls to all the programs across the country, a lot of them just couldn't do weekend 1 at the time. And so kind of as conversations were had with different programs, it became obvious that we needed to add weekend 2 and weekend 3.
As far as the ballpark, having it in a major league stadium, I mean, I know there's several tournaments at some spring training sites, but there are only maybe a couple major league parks that really embrace this. What is it about the Rangers that have made them want to embrace these tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we love college baseball. I mean, that's really the gist of it. We love our partnerships with all these schools, and we're fired up. It's our favorite time of the year.
All right, man. Thanks.
Greg Wilson.
Hey, yeah, I got the same question as someone had earlier, except for the Big Ten coaches. You got the added challenge, Tyler and Tracy, of playing in areas where, it's cold for a lot of the baseball season. How do you keep up these days with some of the Southern conferences, this day and age? And can playing in an event like this kind of help with recruiting when it comes to something like that?
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask Jared to turn down the temperature when we get there. That would help us tremendously. I've had the good fortune of, doing both, kind of preparing indoors or whatever. And yeah, it's challenging as you prepare going into the season, particularly when you're going to be facing a level of competition that all of us are going to be playing initially. But what the thing that we try to instill in our guys is it's still a baseball field. It's still 60 feet 6 inches. The game is still played. The game is played a certain way. So no doubt. I mean, a little unique challenge, but I was listening to the comments, the travel. And I love it. I appreciate the one travel weekend. This is just part of a regular cadence for us, on the multiple travel. But back to the overall, originally the overall experience. We're thrilled. Our guys are thrilled about it. We had a chance to play in it last year. Certainly the competition piece is a plus, and it's going to help us. And I think it helps the exposure for our league, the Big Ten Conference in general. And then, just giving our kids that, opportunity to play in an unbelievable stadium in a different part of the country. So again, we don't try to make excuses with it. It's a little bit more challenging, but it is what it is. You just go play baseball. That's it.
Yeah, very similar to what Coach Smith said there. We just embrace it. It's always sunny and 75 if you want it to be, and we're just out there trying to get better. I think, for our staff, most of us have come from the South a little bit up here to Ohio State, so we're used to being outside, but this has been a little bit more individualized for our guys. So I think maybe these guys have gotten a little bit more skill wise than maybe we've done in the past. So these first couple of weeks before we get into conference play, especially, just looking to try to build some of that team unity together and figure out the team play a little bit more.
Next, we'll go to RL Clark.
Hey, I have a question for Coach Canham. Coach, obviously the front side of your schedule is really backloaded with good competition. How important is it for you guys to get off to a good start, especially with, the schedule being kind of all over the place this year out of a conference?
I think we all really like our schedule top to bottom from start to finish. So yeah, that requires us to be on the road a lot, but if we handle our business throughout the entirety of the year, that means we get to play the really fun games at home in the postseason. So, I think it's phenomenal to have such awesome competition early on. But I really like where we're going all year and who's coming to our place. So I don't know. I don't think that I'm going to place any more emphasis on one game more than the next. Each and every game is extremely important, including the off days, how you recover. So, yeah.
We'll go back to Noah Darling.
My question's for Jared. Just when looking at the history of this event, you talked about it already, how it's grown so much and how college baseball is kind of growing alongside it, of course, separately, but they coincide. You look at TV rights. I hear a lot about, you see the complaints about Flow Sports, and they do their best. I don't necessarily dislike their product. I think they do what they can. But when the future of this event, do you see it being streamed by an ESPN? What does that kind of conversation look like at the beginning of the year? And how long are we locked into Flow Sports?
Yeah, listen, where we're at with Flow is right now, our contract with them is through 25. We don't know what our plans are for 26 and beyond. We'll certainly have many conversations, but as you know, the Rangers have launched their own network as well. So all options are on the table, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Any other questions for these guys? Please raise your hand. Everybody good? Don't see anything else, any other hands raised? All right, well, great. We appreciate all the coaches for their time. Thanks to all the media members for joining. Look forward to seeing you guys all out here in the next few weeks. And again, we'll send a recording out to the SIDs to distribute out. But let us know if you need anything. All right, thanks everyone.